Some historians doubt the very existence of the Cathari. However, their presence in many parts of Europe from the 12th to the 14th centuries has been documented at minimum through the notarial records of proceedings of trials of Cathari by inquisitors of the Catholic Church, particularly after Innocent III became Pope in 1198. This presentation is a lamentation on the power of orthodoxy and its tools of oppression used to crush opposition and dissent in medieval Cathari southern France, tools honed over the centuries of church battles with heresy that echo into the 20th and 21st centuries in the form of totalitarianism. Beginning with Pope Eugene III in 1147, up to the murder of papal legate Pierre de Castelnau in 1208, the Church did its best to suppress the Cathar phenomenon through admonitions to the clergy and civil administrators where it was particularly successful and where it propagated in relative freedom, in the Languedoc region of southern France near the border with Spain. During this time, both Bernard of Clairvaux and Dominic de Guzman tried to convince and convert Cathars to the true faith, with poor results. Dominic's zeal to fight the Cathar heresy even led to the creation of the Dominican order in 1216. The Dominicans, a play on the Latin for dogs of the Lord, were dogged in pursuing heresy in France and beyond. The Cathari movement, with support from many common people impressed by their lifestyle, including some nobles and even several bishops who resented the intrusion of papal legates into their territories, proved more than difficult to suppress. The region was noted for its independence, its closeness to the Spanish principalities, and its own language. The situation called for sterner measures. Innocent III understood the threat that Cathari ideas posed to the Catholic Church, and initially tried to reason with and exhort the Cathars to join the true faith. Christianity at its high point at the beginning of the 13th century controlled virtually all of Europe. Thus, in 1209, Innocent proclaimed a crusade against the Albigensians, named after the city of Albi, erroneously thought to be the center of Catharism. The crusade was justified by the fact of the success of Cathari practices of Christian asceticism, while asserting a Gnostic theology as its inspiration, which challenged the Catholic Church's religious monopoly in southern France. Such a challenge could not be tolerated, but it took over 2 centuries to root the Cathars out of Europe. The crusade was, on a secular level, a church-sanctioned war between essentially two different countries, modern-day northern France and the Languedoc area of what is now southern France, which was more closely tied to Catalonia than the French kingdom. Philip Augustus, King of France, supported the crusade against the Languedocians, under whose protection the Cathars operated, with the promise of the spoils of war to the victors. As to the origins of the Cathari and their philosophical and religious beliefs, Cathar beliefs have a direct connection to the Bogomil movement, which arose in Bulgaria toward the middle of the 10th century from Gnostic and Manichaean tenets. This movement, named after its founder priest Bogomil, had in turn imported these ideas from the Paulicians, a 7th century Armenian sect, which by the 10th century had spread to Asia Minor and beyond. By the 12th century, Bogomils were circulating in northern and Mediterranean Europe, but were particularly prominent in the Occitanie region of France under the name of Cathars. Bogomil or Cathari ideas of the dualism of creation, spirit is good, body and material are evil, and the two gods of creation, the demiurge and the true God, were ancient ideas made more concrete by a 3rd century Babylonian prophet named Mani. Gnostic dualism was rejected as heresy by the Church Fathers in the 2nd and 3rd centuries of the Common Era. The Cathari, from the Greek meaning pure ones, were one of many heterodoxic challenges to Christian orthodoxy arising during the long course of Christian history. Indeed, heresy was almost always the catalyst that prompted theological and institutional development in the Christian Church. Unfortunately, by excommunicating those with differences of opinion rather than embracing them, Christianity had become an exclusive religion with an extremely narrow gateway to belief and salvation. This narrowness eliminated those who held heterodox Christian ideas and values within and outside the Roman Empire, east and west. from participating in a meaningful life within the larger faith community of mainstream Christianity. Finally, in 1244, the last of the Cathari strongholds was overtaken by the Crusaders, and the Cathars were eliminated from Occitanie. The Inquisition, a project of the Dominican order, followed the military crusades against the Cathari movement. This internal crusade within Christendom established a precedent for modern police-state use of torture and summary execution as methods of social control within the larger Christian cultural sphere. The Cathari were symptomatic of a growing rejection of absolutism of thought and social life, which came to fruition only 3 to 5 centuries later. Thank you very much for your kind attention to this presentation.